Well, guys, we are officially living in a simulation because what I'm doing right now isn't real life and I should be arrested. Hello, this is the BLT podcast, episode 8, and we are in a brand new era. We are in Washington, D.C., sitting outside in the snow because I'm a maniac and I have no self-control. Welcome back, guys. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've talked to you all. And today we're trying something new. In fact, I actually need to preface this and say that I recorded this podcast yesterday. And I made this whole big deal about how I'm experimenting with the video aspect of podcasting and was super excited, recorded an entire episode. And then I deleted the video. Because I don't know, because I am not very smart at times, and that was perfectly the truth in that moment. So here I am, in Washington, D.C. I am on L Street in the Noma neighborhood, preparing to give you the first taste of what could be, a specialty one-on-one kind of Alone in DC kind of podcast. In fact, I'm still thinking of a quirky name. I think I'll just go with like BLT in DC or BLT Washington DC edition, or probably something equally as cringy. And so I want you to bear with me. Also realize that these, thankfully for you, are not going to be incredibly long. I'm hoping to keep them under 45 minutes, so that way they're in bite-sized segments. And we'll go from there. So, if you are not in the know and you're wondering why the hell am I doing this, well, I'll start with the most basic version. If you're watching this, i.e., if the video part of this works and you happen to be watching it, hi, I'm waving at you. If you don't see a video, that means that this didn't work and you should just forget I said anything. Now, why am I using a janky webcam sitting on a very cold balcony this late in the day? That's because I'm trying stuff out. I just got a text message. Just kidding. Whenever I get back to Texas or wherever I plan to be, I hope that this can be like a useful experiment in how video could operate for the podcast. If you're listened before, I typically have guests, friends, people I admire and respect, et cetera, et cetera. But you can never see exactly how much fun we have. And so if I'm able to get this video aspect working, I think it could be engaging. Maybe for some of you, you just want to see my pretty face. No. Okay. Otherwise, it's just an extra little piece that you can digest whenever you're listening to my smooth, very comforting podcast voice. But anyway, it's not going to be anything special while I'm here, but I'm just trying it out, and I welcome any feedback. So why am I in DC? If you have listened to all of our episodes, I mentioned this very early on in episode 1, as well as, a couple of the other episodes just kind of hinting at it, that I am living in Washington, D.C. for the next 4 months. I walked the stage in December, and now I'm in a program called the Archer Fellowship, where me and about 47 other Texans from around the UT system can get together, learn in our nation's capital, and get the opportunity to intern as well. And so I flew here about a week ago. This is the end of my first week. As you can see, there's snow on the ground. We got about 5 inches of snow, and it's been a fantastic experience so far. Let's back up a little bit. I am a very stressful person. I have anxiety about things I shouldn't have anxiety about. And as you can tell, moving across the country could be a big deal to a lot of people. And so I want to thank to the people that calmed me down over the last several weeks, because it has been a positive experience. Getting here was not easy. I'm not talking like existentially. That's another story. But packing your bags for, gosh, this amount of time is stressful. And it's not that I have like a bunch of bulky stuff and it's like, oh no, it won't fit in my bags. But I mean, you can tell if I brought my podcast equipment, it's probably not very light. The bags were very heavy. I got 3 suitcases, 1 smaller suitcase in my backpack loaded down. And I spent like 3 days like transferring things from bag to bag to kind of, make sure the weight was going to reach the 50-pound requirement. And I got to the airport, and I don't know if it was a stroke of luck or if God was there himself, but all of my bags were between 49.5 and 49.8 pounds. So I made it. Flew here. My dad lives in the area. I got to spend a day or 2 with him. And, just kind of hanging out, watching some movies. One of those included the new Godzilla movie, which this is just a tangent, but y'all, people are sleeping on that movie. Like it is incredible. Just the kind of, okay. I need to, we're trying again. You probably won't be able to notice the gap because I'm such a wizard at editing. But the program that I was using to record this just up and quit. And now there's a cop car going by and it's very loud. Like I said, I'm experimenting. And gosh, this is already a cluster. But anyway, what I was saying, the Godzilla movie that just came out, Godzilla -1, I think it's called, is completely slept on because I had kind of assumed, because I'm not intelligent, and didn't look into it, but I had assumed that it was the same kind of universe as the last like 3 or 4 Godzilla movies that have come out in the 2010s and recently, which I cared nothing for. Like I thought that they were garbage, and so whenever I heard that this movie is coming out, I was like, whatever. I might watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus. But anyway, we went and watched it, and it is like completely usurped my expectations. Like, is it going to be movie of the year? No. But man, there's some like incredible acting and story. I looked into it. It's pretty much a beat for beat, maybe not beat for beat, but very similar remake of the original 1950s version of Godzilla, made by a studio in Japan. It's in Japanese, with subtitles. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of brought me back around to this whole monster movie kind of mayhem. So I watched it, and yeah, I guess a brief hot take is if you can't watch a movie because it's in a foreign language and it's subbed, then you are a child, right? The acting was excellent, and it's also just interesting to see how different cultures and different places in the world do filmmaking, right? And so, anyway, that's my brief aside. If you haven't seen Godzilla -1 and you have like a matinee time slot in your day open, or you just want to anticipate it coming out, Godzilla -1 is a BLT approved, so go for it. Anyway, other than that, I spent a couple days with my dad and was dreadfully awaiting moving in for a couple reasons. One, I'm shy. Yes. I don't know if you believe me, but I'm incredibly shy. And meeting 48 people that are like very successful, high performing, high achieving people in the world, it terrified me. And so there was that. And then there was my living situation. When I signed up for housing, it said that there was a bunk bed situation, which terrified me because, I love you, Adam, my little brother, but I shared a bed with my little brother for a long time. And I even chose the university I went to because I found out that I would never have to share a bed or a room with anybody. So that was kind of like in my head for no reason because I don't know, I worry a lot. And I was just dreading it. And I got to the apartment, and there they were. The bunk beds were put together. And I also realized just how janky the rest of the apartment was. to cut corners, instead of giving us an actual 2-bedroom apartment, they put a half wall in between the living room half and a bedroom half of a studio. Not a full wall. Like, there's literally like a 2-foot gap between the ceiling and the wall. And yeah, it did not excite me. And so I went back to my dad's. I was like, nah, we'll see. I don't think there's enough room in here to separate the beds. Like, this place is cramped. And my roommate, he texted me, thankfully, and was like, hey, do you mind if I try to rearrange the room? And I said, go for it. Good luck. Like, I don't think that, things are going to work out. And they did. Thank God. So packed up my stuff, went in the next day, and it worked out. And the sleeping arrangements are cozy. There's not even that much like storage space, but it worked out. I was anticipating having to stay at my dad's a lot more than I'm going to. And so, yeah. So anyway, moved in that Sunday. Monday, I guess this is January the 8th, we had our first class, which was a sunrise class at the Lincoln Memorial, which was stellar. Like, how often do you get to go to a class in one of the most prominent places in our nation's capital, watch the sunrise, and then we reenacted or, redid Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, which is where the actual thing happened. Like, it was phenomenal. It was cold, and there's 48 people. It was time to learn. And so went back, started the whole orientation. Luckily, our campus, like basically the UT school campus that we're all attending, is about a block and a half from the White House. So it's in a wonderful neighborhood, highly accessible. We went there, long time sitting in chairs, learning about the program and each other. And it's funny because as an educator, like the first day as a student teacher, I walked in and I was like, oh man, I have like 500 students' names to learn. And it was daunting, but like I did it and I didn't really think anything of it. But like I said, I was terrified to meet 48 people. And there's 3 questions that are asked every day, even still after a week, because there's just so much to know about people. It's like, oh, where do you go to school? Oh, I go to UT Permian Basin. Oh, yeah. What's your major? Oh, music education. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. And where are you interning? The Kennedy Center. And it's funny, you have to do that times 48, times like 2 or 3 times until that person remembers, and it's just kind of funny. The makeup of our group is primarily like pre-law, government, international relations, those kind of smart cookies that are interested in politics and government. There's quite a few people in med school, a couple engineer, physics, that kind of stuff. And then there's me. And so that was the added interesting part, was being the only non-liberal arts kind of or sciences, STEM kind of person there doing music. And so automatically everyone's like, music? What the heck are you doing here? And so I don't know, it is kind of fun being the only person here because it automatically makes you stand out. But then in my own kind of headspace where I'm like insecure at times, it's like, dang, I've got to like prove to other people that I belong here. And so that was also certainly a challenge. But it's fine. I've gotten to meet some really nice people from very interesting backgrounds. And I think I'm fortunate enough, even in high school, where I never was in one clique. And so, moving around from group to group and exploring the city with one group one day and having deep kind of like philosophical questions answered kind of conversations with others the rest of the week. And so it's been quite fun. Some of our other classes on location have been really, really cool. One morning we had class at the National Archives, which is where they keep the 3 kind of founding documents for the United States, that being the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And that's not it. I mean, they have, the Magna Carta, like one of the original copies of the Magna Carta. They have a whole section on civil rights. And I've been there a couple times, but every time I go there, it's just kind of flattering in a way to be in a place with documents or stories from people that lived almost 300 years ago in some cases, or more. Like the Magna Carta is from the 1200s. Like, it's crazy. I keep looking in there to see if anyone's like watching me give a podcast on the balcony. But anyway, and then that afternoon we went to the National Portrait Gallery, which I have slept on every time I've been to DC. And I feel really bad about it because I think that's one of the coolest places I've ever been to. And before I go on, Brooklyn. Look at me. Brooklyn. I know you don't listen to the podcast, but in the case that you do sometime, this message is for you. Thank you for kind of priming me to love my experience at the National Portrait Gallery. Brooklyn is one of my close friends, and she was here last semester, and she told me that it was her safe space and like just kind of place to hang out. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But this place is phenomenal. It's too huge. We were only there for 2 hours, and I think I've only seen a third of the museum. You know, the first floor is a lot of portraiture from, you know, the founding of the United States, like throughout history. And so, you know, a lot of people that were colonists, all the way up to the Civil War, and, you know, prominent figures in art and fashion and music. You know, like, I had no idea a woman was the one that wrote Battle Hymn of the Republic. Like, her portrait is in there with other greats. When you move it to the second floor, and the main attraction there is the presidential gallery of president's portraits. So there's a picture of every U.S. president from George Washington all the way to Donald Trump. And every plaque kind of gives a rundown of their presidency, you know, which, you know, on first glance is like, oh, okay, you know, just talking about it. But I was like genuinely surprised that they not only would talk about, you know, the main kind of successes or like highlight points of the presidency, but they were also giving context for maybe some of the bad things that they did. You know, like even our beloved George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, it talked about reasons why some people criticize their presidency even to this day. You know, not just the low-hanging fruit presidents like Nixon or other people who weren't really liked that were in office. And then I didn't even make it to the third floor because I ran out of time. I spent most of my time on the first floor, scurried up to the second floor, had no time for the third floor, which was all like pop culture icons and athletes. And I missed that. But yeah, and we went and had like a really strong discussion about a lot of, I'm not going to bore you with the details, kind of topics right there in the atrium courtyard of this National Portrait Gallery, which is this huge, like 20,000 square foot covered courtyard, you know, with trees and lights, and the sun was setting, and it was surreal. And so I say, Brooklyn, I'm sorry I slept on it. Thank you for telling me about it. And you need to listen to the podcast because you get shouted out. Anyway, the next couple days, we did some more exploring of the city. Another highlight was getting to go to Capitol Hill. We met with one of our Texas senators, Senator Cornyn, and his staff. You know, learned about their priorities as well as just kind of what people do on the Hill. I know a lot of people kind of think that the representative is there and they just sit there and vote, but there's so many moving parts. You know, for every member of Congress is 5 to 15 to maybe even 20 people just on Capitol Hill that run this country, right? And then they have all of their district offices back in, let's say someone is from California. They have 2, 3, maybe 5 or 6 or more offices with more teams of people that are, you know, taking phone calls and emails from their constituents, of course, which is, you know, what we kind of expected was to have some kind of receptionist role. But then they also have people that are writing and attending meetings and researching stuff all day, and that's their job. And their goal is to inform and kind of help their boss in any way that they can. And I thought that was super interesting. We got a special tour of the Capitol. We got to see some really, really neat places like the original Senate kind of room. or House of Representatives, I don't remember which one, getting to see where like Sam Houston sat when he was a representative, getting to see where the caning happened right before the Civil War, where this dude from the Carolinas was upset of what this other guy had told his cousin, and he went there and beat him half to death with his cane in the middle of Congress, which was just wild. Saw where the Supreme Court kind of hearing room was, where they heard the Dred Scott case, which, if you're not familiar, it's one of the most important civil rights cases pre-Civil War that kind of led up to that, where this doctor had a slave, and as part of his death said that he was free to go, and but when he died, his wife was like, nah, you're still my property. And it's an incredible story. So seeing where like history has taken place was unbelievable. That afternoon, we met up with more alumni of the program who are like professionals on Capitol Hill. Saw a representative from Texas named Henry Cuellar from the Rio Grande Valley, who's a moderate Democrat, and him talking about his kind of what's going on in his world, talking about the border and talking about drug trafficking, and I don't know, it was very interesting. And I know I just sound giddy, just some people might think I'm gloating, but I am like genuinely blessed that I get to like experience this. Like, this is so cool. Like I'm sitting on a balcony. The sun is setting. There's snow all around me. I have random podcast equipment all over this table out here, and I'm getting to talk about the cool things I did this week, and I think the next coolest part is just being able to engage in super, I don't know, in-depth, different conversation with super intelligent people that I don't get in the circles that I'm in, musically, and in West Texas. And, I've always been from a small town. And so even just meeting 48 new people, getting to have like really philosophical kind of, often political, of course, but just conversations with other people. And it's really cool. In the music world, we talk a lot about emotions. We talk a lot about technique. We talk a lot about matter of facts. Like, if you want to have a clear gesture when you're conducting, you need to do this. If you want to, let's say if you want to hold a violin bow, you need to hold it like this, or, you need to practice this kind of thing over and over again if you want to be good. And here it's more of like, I don't know, what makes humans tick, and what kind of large scale existential problem, keep using that word, can we discuss? One of the most meaningful conversations that we had this week was about empathy, right? Which, empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Sympathy is, feeling bad for someone. But if you really empathize for someone, you listen and see the humanity in their problems, and in their experiences, and honestly just find a way to respect other people, especially in the political context, but just in general. One of the things that I struggle with is this kind of idea of, you becoming educated or passionate about something, or living in whatever circles you subscribe to on Twitter or YouTube or the news, that kind of like turn into this echo chamber. And even in our profession, like if you do taxes for a living and all you do is talk about taxes with other people, you feel kind of like a sense of expertise, right? And we always feel this kind of need to be competitive with our beliefs, and not listen to understand or have a conversation, but listening with the intent to respond and put our own beliefs on other people. And regardless of the political climate or our disagreements, like, it alienates humanity. And I don't know, I think that was such an important conversation to have, is to just learn how to have proper conversations with people that you maybe don't agree with, and finding common ground. which as an educator, maybe this is my bias or, like gloating at this point, but like as an educator, I feel like it comes a lot easier. Like if you're not empathetic, why would you teach? Because you have so many students with different backgrounds and you want to connect with those people in their own individual ways. And I think the most ineffective teachers are the ones that don't have that empathy, where they're so matter of fact about, wake up in class, like you're not dress code. I don't care what you think. I'm right. You're wrong. That kind of, obviously I'm paraphrasing. But it's also a skill that not many people have outside of just anything. Like there's some people that are naturally gifted with empathy, or maybe they went through a tragic situation, or whatever it is. And so I don't know. That was my life lesson learned. That was my life lesson learned this week. But yeah, Friday we were sitting in a class all day, which is a great class, by the way. Like being on a Zoom call with the professor from Austin because he had a knee replacement surgery and couldn't be here for 8 hours. If you would have told me that like last year or just in general, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to fall asleep. This is going to be so boring. Because I've done my fair share of, online learning. But surprisingly, just the subject matter and the prowess of the professor, like super, super engaging stuff about how to market yourself, how to advocate for yourself and other people, and how to be just kind of like a positive force for change or who you want to be. Really cool stuff. Anyway, other than that, like it's been rainy, it's been cold, obviously like 5 inches of snow over the last couple days. But really, really getting an opportunity to meet and enjoy the company of other people, which has been, it's been spectacular. It's been really, really nice. And, I don't know, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, so I don't know like how this podcast thing is going to go, but if anything, I gave you my first week update and it was very positive. We'll see how that might change. Probably not, but what my positive takeaways are, week 15. I think we've got, I think now it's like 13 weeks left. But yeah, I think that's all I've got about this week. Looking forward, I've got one more week before I start my internship. We were supposed to have class at the Museum of African American History and American History and go to the top of the Washington Monument. But the snow kind of took us out of that, which is sad. But Thursday, we're going to the National Air and Space Museum, which is my favorite museum of all time. Super excited about it. And yeah, we'll see what kind of other fun stuff to do. My other takeaway of this week is that it is incredibly expensive in this dang city. Like, if you think that Whataburger has gotten expensive in Texas, being like $10, $11, $12 for a meal, I have not spent less than $20 on a meal. And I'm not just talking about sit-down restaurants. I spent $15 on a bagel. Yes, you can roast me for that. It was delicious. It had like bacon and salmon and avocado. It was $15 for a bagel. And so I think I'm going to really have to learn how to manage my finances. But other than that, things are generally positive. Like I said, I start my internship in about a week and a half. Working at the Kennedy Center. I'm super excited, and I don't know, excited about this road that I'm taking. So what else is going on? Desert Echoes, right? The band that me, Nathan, and Ivan are starting. We're kind of ramping up our social media presence. So if you look up Desert Echoes or desert.echoes, well, actually, desert.echoes for TikTok, Desert Echoes Band for Instagram, and you can find us on Facebook as well. We posted a little teaser of a song that we kind of released on the podcast last episode, so you should go listen to it. Yeah, still writing, still working, super excited about that. I really hope that you guys go and look that up whenever we share it, because I'm really proud of it. And I think it's something that other people can relate to, just in general. or something that other people can enjoy. I think we put out a good product. So Desert Echoes is going on. And outside of that, I got to do my media recommendations of the week. The first one is a movie called The Creator. The Creator is on either Disney Plus or Hulu, and it's about a not too distant future where AI has become so advanced and semi-sentient to where, let's just say that there's a tragedy caused by AI, and so the Western world declares war on artificial intelligence, and so they seek refuge. And it's just an incredible story, really, really great writing, in my opinion, about a guy who's sent to go and subvert these artificial intelligence and kill their leader, and this journey he goes on with one of the AI. I don't want to go into details, but it's a really incredible movie. I saw it twice, basically. I watched it on the airplane, and I watched it again with my dad, and I don't know. It was really interesting. Watch the trailer for The Creator. It's got Denzel Washington's son in it. He was from Tenet and a couple other things. I can't think of his name. But yeah, and then the other thing is actually an album by John Baptiste. If you do not know who this gentleman is, you need to look him up, because he's so incredibly relevant, especially right now. Last year he won a Grammy for Album of the Year. This year he's up for another one, and his album that I'm thinking of is called World Music Radio. Yeah. And if you don't know him, he used to be on the Colbert Show as kind of like the band leader. He's a Juilliard grad, and he is a beautiful singer, fantastic musician, composer. He does everything from like jazz kind of fusion to blues to pop to, upbeat, happy music. And, my favorite song off this album particularly is called Butterfly, which is a lullaby that he wrote for his wife. And if you want to know more about that situation, there's a really good documentary that just came out on Netflix. I guess this is a 3-part recommendation for media. But on Netflix, there's a documentary called American Symphony, which centers around John Baptiste. And on the surface level, it's about him creating this all-new American symphony with, influences of everything Americana, and performing in Carnegie Hall. But that is literally the smallest part of the film. It talks about his life and his upbringing and, what he's like as a person, but also, like his wife, who was diagnosed with cancer, and him taking care of her and still being this prominent musician, getting Grammy nominations one night and then having to go to the hospital with his wife the next day. It's incredibly heartbreaking, beautiful story. And you get to experience so much of his music. And so I highly recommend it. Again, his name is John Baptiste. Go check out Butterfly. It's literally him singing with a piano. And I've been going crazy for it. I've been going nuts, listening to that song and some others. But yeah, like I said, this is going to be a shorter episode. I've got my parting words of wisdom, and then more importantly, I just want to say I love hearing feedback. I see demographics and analytics and stuff when I post these podcasts. But at the end of the day, is it me just talking to myself at a camera, or is there something that I can do for you? I said in the very beginning that this is a self-serving platform, right? This is therapy in a way for me. This is memories, but also a way for me to just share the life of a simple, like, real life person with other people who I love and care about, and maybe who could relate to me. And so if you haven't done so already, like, I would love to just hear how I could make this experience better. Maybe you had a reaction to something that we said, anything. So the social medias are there: Instagram, Facebook, the BLT podcast. or even just my personal thing. I'd love to hear from you. And then the last thing before I go, my kind of my words of wisdom is to find a way in this new year to challenge yourself. A lot of times we seek stability, which is a good thing. There's difference between stability and plateau, right? A lot of times we find our comfort zone and we live in that, with our friends and our health or our skills. And so all I'm going to say is challenge yourself. Find a way to challenge yourself this year. If you want to challenge your mind, or expand your understanding, set a goal to read a book, read 5 books. If you want to challenge your physical fitness, go to the gym. If you don't like it, okay, find something else. Make yourself uncomfortable in ways where, you can hear other people's circumstances and points of view and challenge your thoughts. We are not on this earth to simply wake up, go to work, make money, find a way to survive, and then go to bed. Although those are like greatly important things that we all struggle with, the meaning of life is to find meaning. Let me say that again. The meaning of life is to find meaning. If that meaning is finding a passion outside of your work, like crocheting or underwater basket weaving, then at that point in time, that is your life's purpose. That is the meaning for you. So, man, that was deep. Challenge yourself. Let me know how it goes. New year, new you, or maybe it's a new year, upgraded you, or whatever it is. But anyway, thank you for enjoying this. We had a couple hiccups in this podcast I've got to edit together, with things crashing. But I hope it works out. Like I said, if there was no video, don't hate me. You guys have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Do good in the world, challenge yourself, and I don't know. We'll catch you back here on the BLT podcast sometime. But until then, you're loved, you're appreciated. Have a good, wonderful, blessed day. Bye.